All right, man. So this subject line probably won't work. Um, and here's why. So I can see where you're going with this. The so and so company should be ashamed. And the reason this subject line works is when the company that should be ashamed is of good repute. Viagra, definitely not of great repute, primarily just because it's a pharmaceutical, right? Like nobody has this intrinsic trust in the pharmaceutical industry. They take drugs simply because they have to, they have a problem. So that's probably the biggest issue that this subject line runs into. Next, Viagra makers should be ashamed. That's it's just kind of wordy, so that's an issue just in just how it's composed. And lastly, this is a good way to say, hey, I'm trying to leave it blank for legal reasons, but this is super easy to fill in. So if you were to do this, I would actually I would take out the A and G. So that makes it a little bit more dubious as to who you're talking about. So let's just go with that. So with that being said, like you're gonna have to probably let me just actually unpack it a little bit more. So as to why this won't work. Um, so for one, you don't even want to go into like anything about the drug. Like if you were to use this isn't necessarily because you want to discredit the drug. And again, I see where you're going. You're like, hey, it actually does work, but this works better. But still, like this is weakening your position right out the gate. And I would prefer that you just start on the strength of the formula that you're going to be selling. So here's where I would go if I was going to try this. Okay, I realized I made my screen really small so you can't see the comments. So what I would do is I would say funny Viagra story, she laughed, or she was impressed, or something like that, right? What I want to do here is I want to, because you're focusing on Viagra, I want to at least like get people to click and read. So what I would say, or the reason that I would do this is just like you're gonna get a lot of people who are like, "What happened? Did this dude get a boner that exploded or something like that?" And of course, like because this isn't true, I have it. I heard a story. Don't know if it's true because I don't want to be lying straight up. So you could even soften that again, like to make it so that you're totally free. It's like I heard a story. This sounds unlikely, but you should probably read this and then create some kind of a weird story about Viagra. This guy had been taking Viagra for years and he'd spent thousands of dollars on it because he didn't have insurance or something. That's probably not going to work because Viagra is actually pretty cheap. But the funny thing is, he's quit taking it, and all because his buddy was like, hey, you should take this pill. And this pill helped him bone his wife for 17 hours longer than he normally could. Right? You're not really trying to come up with anything too crazy here. All you want to do is get them in the email, talk about Viagra, its obvious benefits, and then you can go into the description of Providazole. And let's see here. Okay, so I would then call it like talk about how it's experimental. Like, hey, like this is actually experimental, but it was recently approved and blah 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 blah. So this conspiratorial angle you could actually keep in here. As a matter of fact, Viagra, and of course, like keep it like this if you want. The manufacturers of Viagra are doing all they can to make it so that you can't get this. You probably haven't seen advertisements for this simply because the pharmaceutical makers don't want you to see it. Now you can try it out, blah, 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 blah. So that's how I would approach this. And that's the same way that I did it with like the female gynecologist, naked, sex, all those for this. They're not attacks on the pharmaceutical industry. If anything, they're just kind of funny, tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff, and that's how you're getting the people in there because they're disarmed. They're not thinking it's going to be a sale on a testosterone supplement, but then you get them on it.